Welcome to the Making Money in Multifamily show, where we discuss everything to do with multifamily real estate investing. We believe it's the best way to gain financial freedom and build lasting wealth. This is where you'll find the best information and practices to help you succeed in your real estate business, whether you're already experienced or just starting out. Here's your host, Dave Morja.
Hello, listener, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Dave Morja, and with me today is Mandy McAllister. Mandy, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me, Dave.
We are, I'm sure, due for a great talk today, Mandy. Before we dive in, just wanted to give the listener a little bit of your background. Among being an amazing mom, an awesome multifamily investor, Mandy considers herself a mindset ninja, a dot connector. She has 205 units under ownership and management. And I kind of wanted to highlight those kind of second two because I'm not really familiar, Mandy, but maybe just dig in before we get into your focus on that mindset ninja and dot connector stuff because it sounds pretty interesting.
So, mindset ninja. I realized that if I just change how I think about things a little bit, everything becomes easier to address. Just absolutely everything. So, and when I realized, oh gosh, not everybody does that. I guess got some ninja tricks for mindset. And, dot connector, I like figuring stuff out. Even when I was in my W-2 jobs for some time, I got to interview new clients or new potential hires. And whatever they would have, what I call the figure it out gene, they would be able to do really well in the job. So connecting the dots, figure it out gene, that kind of thing.
No, I love it. And that's pretty much how I see you in the field of entrepreneurship and real estate. It seems like you are just a bubbly personality who wants to just help people out and figure out basically, how to solve problems. It might not even be something you kind of get involved in on the deal. But we were just talking before the show, right? You have this 18 unit that I don't think we could talk about too much today, but something that's closing 18 units where someone reached out to you, you kind of selflessly put yourself out there and figured it out for them, gave them advice, and the world just kind of comes back to you, and now you're involved in the deal, and it's more deals and more opportunities, right? So it's funny how it just kind of boomerangs right back.
The better you are to people, the better the universe will be to you. I firmly believe it. And, I did introduce someone with the 18 unit to a friend who that's kind of what she specializes in. They decided they were doing a deal and then said, "Are you sure you don't want in? We would love to work with you too." And I said, "Well, gosh, of course. Sure. I'll send some money your way." I'm pretty excited about it. So it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, it sounds like a great little deal. And I think what we kind of try to hone in on, we'll see where the conversation takes us, but we're going to kind of talk into kind of community building and really just growing a brand and just fostering these relationships, right? In kind of a concerted effort. So do you want to just kind of talk a little bit more about what you've been focusing on lately in that regard?
Yeah, I am multi-passionate, let's say. I have a lot of, and that's the nice way of putting I do a lot of stuff. A lot, maybe a little too much stuff. But I beginning in multifamily real estate, there weren't a ton of women when I started 5, 6 years ago. And I kind of banded together with as many of the lady friends as I could make and realized, oh gosh, this, focusing on your whole life, but real estate is a vehicle to make you move forward in a life by design type of a thing. There's got to be more of us out there, Dave. There's got to be. So I started a Facebook group called Aspiring Women Achieving More. And in, a year, almost two now, we're at 2,500 members. And these women show up for accountability and an inspiration and ideas, workshopping. I hit this hiccup. How do I move forward on this type of a deal? Or I need support in this way. So, we've all come together to do lots of really cool stuff as we go. And another thing that we share in common is I lead a multifamily meetup out of Chicago. Just frankly, I started it to scratch my own itch because I didn't know a single human in Chicago who wanted to talk about apartment. And your friend Mandy likes to talk. So I said, okay, I'll host a thing. And then other people might want to come listen. And at least then I can have an avenue to invite these experts so that I get a chance to ask the questions that I'm really curious about. And it ended up doing a lot of good for a lot of people and actually found me one of my primary business partners. So, we mentioned before we hit record here, but I live life by the motto of if you do right by people, the universe will do right by you.
That's really funny. I did not know that about your business partner, but that is very similar to my story. I met my business partner through his now our meetup. And kind of with the podcast, same itch where you have a meetup that you want to kind of scratch your own itch. Same thing with my podcast. You kind of just do it almost selfishly, but also you can give back at the same time. So it's really just a beautiful kind of power coupling of I guess intentions, right? So you mentioned there was a need for this group. I assume on the other side of it, there's a need for others to be in this group. So can we just kind of go over how you wanted to give as much value as quick as possible and really just kind of elevate everybody together?
In the aspiring women group, we started out just by doing a Friday accountability call. That's it. Like, let's go around the horn. What are you working on? How did you do since last week? Did you hit any hiccups that maybe we could workshop together? And since then, we've been able to. There's a lot of women that like want to aspire to more. But, I think nature, nurture, whatever it is, many times women need to feel far more qualified to take a chance than men need to feel qualified. Actually, HP did an internal study of this a number of years ago that they found in order to go for a promotion, men needed to feel like they fit about 60% of the qualification. Women needed to feel like they met every single day qualification, 100% of qualification to even try to do a promotion, right? So I think that, allowing for kind of a communal area, because women are communal, because we talk a lot, and so does your friend Mandy, that this is, to take a chance as part of a community and to realize, oh, wait, I'm not crazy. And oh, wait, a cash out refi works this way or whatever it is. There's been so many women who have been able to go so much further, so much faster because, when you see it, you can be it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of examples of a lot of women doing a lot of cool stuff. So it's been really, really neat to get to see the growth of it.
And is this kind of niche down into a certain area, or are you just basically kind of promoting the entrepreneurial spirit and helping connect people where the dots line up, going back to the intro?
Yeah. So the whole idea behind it was I love real estate. I just love
Really,
everything
I could
about real
not
estate.
tell.
And I really but it's not like the reason I love it is because it's my means to the end of impacting more lives, of having more freedom in my own life. Right. So it's more about the whole person, the whole woman, the women forget to care for themselves. And, the put the oxygen mask on yourself first thing, you know, we friggin' forget. And this chance to, remember collectively, that's the thing that's first, the whole person first. Real estate investing is a, close second because it really happens to be the means to the impact and the whole life thing for most of us. But it's just let's go out there and live our very best lives. Let's be better every day. That's my tagline. Better every day.
So how it's one thing to want to do this, it's another to wrangle the herd and figure out a way to actually like make a difference. I know that seems crass, but it's like you start with accountability call, right? But then where does it go from there? How do you actually structure everything so that people feel like they're getting somewhere and not just like in a group that, because I've seen and heard of groups where, oh, you have a little bit of the activity and it fizzles out because no one's kind of pushing forward, no one's driving any
Yeah.
kind of direction. So how do you manage that?
So that's a really great question. And it's something we're working on actively every single day. So getting people outside of just the keyboard is a number one, right? So having those accountability calls where people show up and you get to know someone is a real human versus just an icon picture and a couple of comments and a like here and there. You know what I mean? That really builds relationships. So we do that. And also, I think that everybody has a zone of genius. And a lot of people, have something they could teach us, especially women, because we don't speak up as well as men do, nature, nurture, whatever. That, I have this perfect avatar, this woman divine who's part of our group. She's friggin' brilliant, Dave. She is the sweetest, quietest, little lovely human you'll ever meet in your entire life. And she is incredible at copywriting and ClickFunnels. You cannot tell me that a bazillion people in the world don't want to know more about how to funnel people forward in a sales process, or raising capital for deals and want to move them forward in it, or whatever your need is, this click funnel information that she's an absolute expert on is, stuck in her brain. And we're helping her develop a course that's going to be branded Aspiring Women, that she's going to be able to roll it out. So helping women particularly find their zone of genius and helping them, bring that to the world in a bigger way so that they can feel what it's like to impact more lives. It's been really super fulfilling.
What's funny is I'm having a call with Divine, I think on Tuesday next week for that very same thing. So
Really?
it's funny you bring that
You
up. But
know
yeah,
my girl.
yes, I do. We are about to talk exactly what you mentioned, her zone of genius about kind of funneling and lead generation and all those good things. So yeah, always looking to improve. I think I mean I got a good referral here, so it sounds even more exciting. My call on
She's
Tuesday.
brilliant.
So
Girl,
yeah.
Divine, when you hear us talking behind your back, just we want you to know, anyone listening here needs to call Divine Bunch Copywriting Agency. We should put her stuff in the show notes.
We'll drop it in. Yeah. Anytime I talk behind someone's back, I try to keep it positive. So we'll make sure it's nothing but good things. Yeah, getting into that zone of geniuses, that's interesting. And I like that term, obviously. I feel like when you get into groups like these, some people feel lost or kind of confused as to how to get to that path. So is there some level of coaching that you involve yourself with to kind of figure out or help people figure out what they're even trying to do to begin with? Because sometimes it's like cart before the horse. Like, I don't know where to go, shiny object syndrome, all these other things. So where does that go for people in that group in that sense?
And I think to add on to your point, that if you're really good at something, if it is your zone of genius, it feels like, well, everybody can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it seems just like, because you can't see the tip of your nose because it's too close to your face. You don't know your zone of genius because it's so ever present in your life, you know? So I think that having the counsel of a group of people around you absolutely is helpful. And I mean, I may or may not have encouraged Divine specifically, like, hey, girl, something you should do. And the business partner that I have for Aspiring Women, her name is Victoria. So Victoria was a huge force in making that happen for Divine as well. So, understand that if it is your zone of genius, it should feel effortless. Actually, that's an incredible book. If you haven't read the book Effortless, that's really informed kind of the way I'm working to work with my life here moving forward, involve myself in the things that are easy.
Yeah, I have not heard or I have not read that one. The ones I've been focusing on lately myself have been all on I think the latest one is Traction, the one which is basically V and I. It's something me and my business
Yep.
partner have been focusing on a lot lately. So yeah, I haven't read that one lately, but
The follow-up to that, Gino Wickman's follow-up is Rocket Fuel. And my business partner and I are doing like a mini book club on
that's
that.
actually the one I'm on right now is Rocket Fuel. Yeah, it's like all
Yeah.
like the visualizer and the
Yep.
integrator. Yeah, so getting back to I guess figuring out how you add value as quickly as possible. We've kind of alluded to getting into people's expertise. That's one thing you need to hone skills, right? But also it's connecting, like you said. You mentioned the accountability groups. Does it go beyond that for you? Is it like something you try to cultivate within the group or structure these calls and then kind of let people figure themselves out?
Yeah. So we are working to evolve it, right? So it's our intent to always have like a significant amount of free content where people can come to learn. We started doing master classes, which are just kind of a very short snippet of someone's expertise. So actually this week we had someone speak on health. She's a big deal health coach and some hacks to help you feel more healthy. Next week, actually, we're going to have an interior designer who her specialty is staging for sale and staging for picking paint colors and fixtures and what's next, right? So if you're a flipper or if you're an apartment complex owner, you don't want to be painting the walls purple if the new, trend is going to be green or you can tell why I need my girl with that.
That is not your zone of genius, basically.
Not my zone of genius.
Yeah.
So anyway, like this idea of bringing in people who are these absolute experts to allow a venue, number one, for them to potentially gain more clients and people want to work closely with them, but also to like have an avenue where people can ask questions of the experts. So very much like the multifamily meetup, but kind of in, not just one narrow focus. So we're doing master classes. We're also, there's courses like Divine's course is going to be a paid for thing. And we're doing, kind of larger coaching on underwriting. We're doing an underwriting club, which is really cool. Because I think in multifamily, we don't spend enough time on doing the numbers because, if I had $1 for every time I heard someone go, "Oh no, I out underwriting. I outsource that. I don't deal in." That is everything. Underwriting is everything. It is investing of all types, especially multifamily investing. It's all about the numbers. And if you don't know the numbers, and if you can't like conceptualize the numbers, like I get like if you get really good at it, then you need to step out of it because that's not your zone of genius or that's some drudgery. Like you still have to have an opinion and a knowledge of this is what happens if I fudge my exit cap. You know what I mean? You need to have that level of knowledge. So we have a group of women going through right now that are, understanding a model. These are the assumption things that you're making here. And now here's your T12 example. Go into opposite corners of the world, do that math, and then come together and let's talk about why you got the number you got. And that's where having to defend why I came up with 2.1 and you got 1.8, like having to defend that is where the real learning happens. So if you can't join a group like our underwriting group, find an underwriting buddy and go do that. And that is how real underwriting learning happens, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of deals can look very sexy if you don't know how to underwrite the full thing. So,
Preach.
especially if you're looking at a broker OM and you go along with their pro forma, you can see a lot of bad assumptions. So make sure you're putting the hours in for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems like this is getting pretty fleshed out as far as a group goes. I can only imagine that there was some feedback, some good, some bad through the process. Were there any kind of nuggets from certain individuals that kind of struck a chord that, maybe Mandy, you should focus on this thing, that thing, like this is what I'm looking for in the group type of thing? Anything that kind of rings a bell?
I'll say well, most of everything that we did for the first year and a half was absolutely for free. Was just absolutely us showing up to try to give and other people showing up to try to give. So, one thing I know for sure now is, as an example, I belong to a $100 a month gym. I don't belong to a $9 a month gym because if it costs me nothing, I don't value it. Right. So many people weren't showing up because it didn't cost them anything. So now our model is such that you get what you pay for and you're getting significantly more value in a number of the things that we're doing. But at the same time, I don't think you need to hire someone for 30, 40 grand to do like initial learning. Sure, at some point, maybe it makes sense to pay for a PhD, but if you're going to junior high, you should be able to do that for way less money.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I think kind of like you said, it's in the value you get out of it, right? I've been in cheap groups, I've been in expensive groups, and the one difference I've noticed is the level of commitment you get when there's money online where there's higher stakes, right? Where there's
Mhm.
something to be lost. And if you kind of put that dollar amount behind you to say, I'm investing that in myself, I'm worth this much, I'm gonna go get it, you'll go get it.
Yep. Yeah.
If you kind of almost balk or you look at a couple pitches or whatever and it's like him and hawing, you might just kind of sit there and not really get anything done. So yeah, there's definitely value to that. One of the things that's interesting, like you said, is that I think the level of confidence has to be there before you take the deep dive. So
Yeah.
like you say, there's a ton of free stuff. You offer a ton of free stuff. It's all out there. Whatever your subject matter is, go YouTube for hours and hours until you feel like you can walk the walk or talk the talk probably, and then you pay to walk the walk, I'll say. So yeah, it's really, really interesting to hear you say that.
So I will say too that when people come to me, I do some coaching, right? Like, but like that's something that I do. When people come to me and want me to coach them, I make sure that they've exhausted all of the free stuff first, because it makes like it's not going to be worth your time as the person investing in yourself, and it's not going to be worth, frankly, my time to. And I don't want to take your money if you're not getting anything out of it. So you gotta exhaust the free stuff first. And the amount of free stuff available now versus 5 years ago when I kind of dived head first into this stuff, it's head and shoulders like it's above what it was. Like it didn't exist very much at all. There wasn't a multifamily meetup in the metropolitan Chicago area, which is friggin' bananas, right? And now it's just it's the thing that everybody talks about. So go do the free stuff. Go to these meetups. I mean, yeah, meet the people. That's where everything happens is with the people.
And that's the next one. So we were just talking how you went to a little networking thing and I was at one this weekend too. Um, how powerful are those to you since we kind of got into that subject? And where do you
Mm.
see that going with your group at all?
So I'll tell you, this GoBundance that I joined is the single, no BS, the single best thing I have done for my entire life. When I'm talking to my friends who haven't heard of GoBundance, I explain it like it's like a sorority for CEO grown-ups. You know what I mean? Like it's
I like
the
that.
CEO sorority, right? So it's where, 40 of us or so got together in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And we, learned and gave talks and did a ton of like fun, silly things. And now I have friends for life. I have business partners. I mentioned that 18 unit. The reason I know this Airbnb woman is because of this group. She's been so impactful in my life, and I've known her a year. And because I see her show up with this big heart and everything that she does. So one big takeaway, and I actually did a video on this morning for my women's group, is we're putting out this free masterclass content. And one of my friends, Erin, led the whole GoBundance group through like a heart-centered goal setting thing. That if you're showing up with your head, you're gonna set a different goal than if you're showing up with your heart, right? And it makes a ton of sense, and it was really impactful and great. So I asked her to do that as a masterclass with aspiring women, and she agreed to. And we're sitting at dinner during this conversation, and this woman next to me is this really big deal PR person. Like, for instance, when Oprah was doing her show, if you wanted to get on the Oprah show, you called this woman, this big deal PR expert who gave a talk to us. She's sitting next to me and she's like, well, Mandy, why wouldn't you ask me? Can I do a master class for aspiring women? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, number one, of course, two lessons in this, Dave. One, good on her for, you want to do something, you just ask. That's it. That is the magic secret to life. If you want to do something, ask to do that, period. Right. And then the other lesson in it is, oh, I'm just some little girl with a group of 2,500 women. And oh, she wouldn't possibly, like, I won't even bother her with asking because she's such a big deal and I'm such a tiny little, like, how dare I play so small, especially in a situation when I'm challenging myself to play bigger by being a part of this group. So don't you dare play small and just ask. Like those were two incredible lessons that came out of this weekend. And it's also yielding two really incredible, master classes that if you're interested in public relations for whatever it is that you're doing, this is the woman. Susan Harrow will be speaking on our behalf. We haven't put time on the calendar yet, but we're working that out. And then my friend Erin Bradley is going to lead us through on November 17th, a masterclass for that heart-centered goal setting.
Now that's amazing. And it almost kind of goes back to that zone of genius. I think you're pretty good at cultivating these relationships and you put yourself down to say, why wouldn't they want to give back to my group? Right. So it's kind of, practice what you preach in a way. And I'm sure you're going to
Thank
be
you.
practicing that quite a bit more this next couple of months and getting the big swingers on there. So
I was, what a lesson, because it's exactly what I've said to other people, but it's something, many times people teach what they need to learn. And I think it's obvious that choosing, it's a choice. Are you going to play big or are you going to play small? And I'm here to tell you that when it comes to deals, when it comes to everything that I've ever done in life, the bigger I play, the easier everything gets. Like even as an example, if you are a multifamily real estate investor and you're going after agency debt, that it becomes easier to get a loan for $6 million than it is to get a loan for $2 million. One more example in that same vein, I had under contract a 53 unit that we were putting a $3 million loan on, and a single family home that I bought for $45,000 both last year. So a $4,000 asset, $45,000 asset. They threw that money at me for the 53 unit. I could not beg for a dollar for the $45,000 single family home. Couldn't beg for it because no one would give it to me. The bigger you play, the easier everything gets.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And I'm sure it's, it's a big reason why you're doing these groups and keeping these interactions up. Everyone needs to be reminded of that, I think, almost all the time. Even when you get bigger, I think you will put the brakes on and say, this is as big as I could get. But then it's like, why couldn't you take the next step? I mean, you have a couple hundred units and there's no reason you can't, just keep going larger and just keep doing more. It's not like you have to put some arbitrary line in the sand and say, this is as big as I'm supposed to go and just say that's it. Right. So it's interesting to hear you just, repeat. And I'm sure everyone around you is kind of getting the effects of that.
Everything is a decision. Are you going to decide? You decide what you're worth, right? So why not overshoot what your wildest dreams are?
I love that. And then getting into, I guess, the focus of this group and the cultivating relationships for the next, 3, 6, 12 months, like thinking big, where do you see this going? Where do you want to put your efforts into, at least at 80% of the 100%, to really make sure that this group gets as much as it can?
Yeah, I really want to lift up more women to be an expert, to dive into their zone of genius. So if what I'm doing with my business partner is seeking out women who have some expertise, like a woman who attended a lot of our stuff is an incredible capital raiser. So inspiring her to put together 10, 20 videos to be a course that she will then impact hundreds more lives, right? So the formula here is that if I impact the people who can impact, then by ipso facto, that's a lot more people helped in a lot more different lanes. So if you have a voice of something that you want to be teaching and you're just some little girl who couldn't possibly, right, reach out to us and we want to help you figure out how to make that happen so you can impact some lives.
Yeah, definitely got to kibosh that voice, whatever it may be holding you back. It's the competence grows confidence too, right? So like we said earlier on, it's like if you can just dive in and get the education without anybody judging you, and then you feel a little bit more comfortable, then you can kind of start swinging for the fence a little bit more. Mandy, this is really interesting. I think your superpower, if you were to nail it, is really just kind of the relationship building and the growing and the give first, and it just kind of bounces back to you type of stuff where kind of like in the beginning, the not connector, right? You said it kind of more in the logistical sense. And I thought when you explained why you put that on your website, it would be more of the relationship connector. Because I think it's both for you. I think you not only can figure out how to get the deal done or get the business done or whatever, but also you know the who, not how, in a sense, to be able to make sure the right parties are there. So really appreciate that. Just wanted to kind of dig in these 5 key questions as long as you're ready.
Let's do it.
So the first one, and I kind of maybe cheated and maybe gave you a little bit of an out, but if you could pick only one trait that explains your success, what is that trait and why?
I mean, I have this completely irrational belief that I can figure anything out. It's completely irrational, but I keep figuring stuff out, Dave. You know, like I have no clue. Like I'm from a town of like 800 people, and I figured out how to get a volleyball scholarship, and then I figured out how to go get a job on the floor of the Board of Trade, and then I figured it out. Like if I firmly believe that if you just refuse to believe that you're not going to figure it out, you'll just you'll just keep moving different directions until you do.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, that again, every time you succeed, it grows confidence and just multiplies for the next time, right? You just are not afraid to figure it out for the next time. So that's awesome. And then What is the most uncharacteristic thing you have done in your business, Mandy, and why did you do it?
Um, I made a real bonehead mistake a couple of years ago and took on a partnership without vetting this person. I we went to church together, kids played together. It was something that I should have, you know what I mean? But I couldn't separate the my gut telling me something was wrong versus is this fear and I'm not pushing through fear. Right. I think that's a very dangerous place to be if you're convincing yourself that your intuition that's saying something is wrong is actually just fear that you need to push through. That is everyone individually figuring out how to distinguish that line, I think is very, very important. But now I do a background check on everybody that I'm doing a deal with, and it yields some really cool conversations because if it's awkward for that person that I did a background check on them and can ask about a speeding ticket they had 5 years ago, then I now know what they communicate like when they feel something went wrong, and that's perfect to understand for a partnership.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting if they can't kind of unravel in that tough time, quote unquote. How are they going to do it when you got millions on the line? So definitely some insights there. And then can you name a time where you felt like you were not going to end up successful, and how did you overcome that fear?
Mm. So 5 years ago when I bought my first fourplex, I was scared to get literally, I said that out loud and my palms started sweating. Like I remember what it felt like being there. And pushing through, that was actually just fear that I was pushing through. And then buying that 53 unit, going from the 10 and smaller, like that felt very comfortable for a while once I pushed through that. And then it was a muscle. Like I knew I wouldn't die after I did that. But going to 50, like that was way bigger. So the hack that I could have, the mindset ninja thing that I figured out for that is, if I just get really, really comfortable with what the actual worst case scenario is, then I can mitigate that risk. And then it becomes a no brainer that I should move forward. Right. So I realized that, worst case scenario is that a bunch of these units go vacant because of COVID or people can't pay because of COVID. Well, that's a math problem. You know how many units can be vacant before you lose the property. And I did that math and I realized, oh, wait, that's never going to happen. So if you get comfortable with the downside, that's an easy way to move forward.
And then pretty much opposite to that one, can you name a time where something in your business went perfectly, and what did you do to make that a reality?
Mm. The bigger I play, the easier it gets. Not a joke. The stuff that feels like drudgery, that's hard. That I mean, just because it's a skill doesn't mean it's something that is a passion for me. Like I literally just got off the phone talking with a friend about this. Just because it's a skill doesn't mean it's a passion. And if I can go big enough that I can subspecialize into just the things that are my passions, what a win. And then everything feels effortless. I get so much more done. The team works more cohesively. So continuing to remember to play big.
And then we maybe alluded into this a little bit, but what have you been focusing on lately, Mandy, to improve yourself or your business?
Um, Holding myself to the same things that I talk about all the time. Like literally it smacked me in the face this weekend. That I just figuring out how to spend my time operating in the stuff that I'm really good at, my zone of genius stuff, and outsource the other stuff, either with partnerships or with virtual assistants or whatever that is. Spend more time on the stuff that I can really impact in a big way, and make sure the other stuff gets done, but by outsourcing.
Yeah, this is a really interesting talk, Mandy. A lot of fun, a lot of just I don't know, when I talk to you, it's nice to just get I feel like you get a level of just bluntness and truthfulness that you don't always get with everybody. So I always appreciate that when I get to talk to anybody on a show. Um, it's good to just have that mentality of people around you want you to succeed. You should want yourself to succeed, and to not want to just inhibit yourself to whatever limitations you put on it. So appreciate just the reaffirmations of that all day today. Before we sign off, did you want to plug anything? I know we mentioned MFM a little bit. We mentioned your
Yeah.
group. We mentioned all these things. So go right ahead. Hit the lot.
If you're interested in, if you're a lady, sorry, boy, and are interested in joining us with the Aspiring Women Achieving More movement, We'll put that in the show notes, but it's under groups on Facebook under AWAM group, AWAM group, Aspiring Women Achieving More.
Mandy, so much fun today. Can't wait to see you in a couple weeks. You'll be putting the MC in McAllister, I'm sure. So
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks once again for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the show. I don't take your time and attention for granted and appreciate that you would spend it with me. If you enjoyed this show or any of my previous shows, it would be a huge help if you would rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting service, or even just share the episode with a friend. And if you'd like help from me or would like to talk about real estate investing further, feel free to visit the show notes for more information, or you can visit davidtravis.com.